Well, thank you for joining me today for this next session, this next webinar on Church360 Unite. Today's topics are users, groups, and communication. So now that we have this church website, we might be wondering, how do we engage with our congregation? How do we get them to engage with us? How can we communicate with them? And so that's what we're covering today in the webinar. First of all, my name is Tim Burke, and I'm a software support technician here at Concordia Technology Solutions. Do want to mention here up front that all phones and microphones have been muted, but we do want you to type in any questions that you may have throughout the webinar into the questions window. There should be a little window there on your side of the interface where you can type those questions in and submit them. We will review the questions at the end of the class as well. But during the webinar, I've got our department manager here, Rod Kiles, as the support person of this webinar, and he'll be watching that questions window and helping to answer some of those questions throughout. So don't wait till the end of the webinar to ask your question. Go ahead and type it in the questions window while it's fresh in your mind. And Rod will take a look at it, and we'll also see if there's anything we want to cover at the end of the webinar. All right, let's talk about our class agenda today. First, we're just going to overview the topics that we'll cover. Then we'll drop into our discussion time, which will be the majority of the hour. We're planning to go about 50 minutes with discussion. Then we'll have a short 5-question quiz, just some true-false questions, just to see if you were able to pick up on some of the finer points of the training. And then we'll go into our Q&A session at the end. So in today's session, we're going to talk about users. How do we invite users to our website? How do we get them involved and encourage them to take part in the church website now that we've purchased the website? We'll also talk about mailing lists, how we can communicate with the users and let them know, make them aware of the events and the things that are happening in the church. We'll also talk about calendars and how that is viewed on the website and the events that you can create on those calendars as well. And we'll also touch on feeds. That would be having to do with things like blog posts or announcements, etc. And then we'll end the session with talking about group pages, which are kind of like mini websites within your church website. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Let me bring up our website that was used yesterday. So you may recognize the website from yesterday's webinar session. We're currently on the home page here, and I am signed in as an administrator. So we've got the administrator navigation bar here at the top, and where we're going this morning, first of all, is to users. So here in users view, this will give you the names and potentially the emails of those people in your congregation, the members. And this may be already populated with names. It might be coming from your Shepherd Staff program if you happen to have that particular program and keep it in sync with Church360 Unite. It might be people from your Church360 members application, because Church360 Unite also syncs with Church360 members. Or you might have pretty much a blank screen on this page where you need to add users and add people to this list manually. So all of those scenarios are potential for you, but we're going to go ahead and talk about what we have on the screen. On the left side of the screen, we do have a couple navigation options here: users, mailing lists, and communication. We're here in the users view. We've got a list of names here. They're sorted alphabetically, and that's represented by the teal column header here and the directional arrow showing it's in ascending order. We can click on the column header and reverse this sorting method so that it's Z through A instead of A through Z, but clicking on it a second time will sort differently. You can also sort by email, sort by role, which we'll talk about in a moment, or even sort by the last sign in. All right, so with this list here, you can use the filter search box at the top of the page to search. I'll just use my last name here, type in Burt, and my name appears, Tim Burt, in view. You can type in any first name as well. Let's just go with my first name, and you get myself again and a Timothy Benedict. So you're able to quickly get to a specific user if you wanted to address something in that particular record. What we have then next to that, next to the name column, is the email address, and you'll notice that email addresses are in parentheses, just showing the email address that is available, possibly in Shepherd staff or Church360 members. But anytime that you have invited someone to the website as a user, and what I mean by that is a user of your website will be someone who has additional permissions to see member-only type of information. Let's go to the Pages menu option at the top, and those pages that are for members only are designated by this little red tag here on the side of Church Council and on the side of members. And so there's a number of pages that you may only want your church membership to see. And so that's the purpose then of inviting your members to Church360 Unite to become a user. And so once you have invited someone, for example, here's Jordan. He is an administrator on the website. And so his email address now is in bold type without the parentheses, showing that he has been invited as an administrator. We have one underneath, Taylor Brown, another support tech here at Concordia, and she has been invited as a user, although hasn't responded to the invite yet at this point. So those are part of the roles. We're kind of touching on administrator and user. Right now, most of these names are none, so they haven't been invited yet. The next column over is a last sign in. We can see that Jordan last signed in a day ago. And then in this case, Taylor was invited about 4 months ago. The little circular arrow to the left of Taylor's last sign in is a resend button. So you might invite a person to become a user, and that invitation token, in a sense, is active for, I think it's like 10 days, something like that. But once it gets over that 10-day period, you may need to click on this cycling arrow here to resend that invitation at a later date if your members haven't responded to them. And then the last column over is a listed column, meaning that they would be listed here in the member directory. It's a church member only access to that directory, not for the general public. And this green check mark shows that they would be displayed there in the directory. I don't have an X on any one of these to show you what that looks like, or I can show you how to unlist somebody as well here in a moment. But those are our columns on the page. If you wanted to, if your page is basically blank, you don't have names, you may need to add people. So you could click the green button in the lower right corner, and you get this window where you could type in John Doe, and then his email address, john@email.com. Let's take that out of the last name cell and actually paste it in where it belongs. And then we could add John Doe by clicking the add button. And then if we scroll down here, now John Doe appears here with the suggested or entered in email address with a status of none at this point in time. And now we see that this person is unlisted at the moment. So that would be a way to add one person at a time to your Church360 Unite users page. Now, another way we can add people in bulk, we'll click on the Add People button, and you'll notice this option here to download a CSV template. And what that template looks like is this. And let's see, I'm sorry that this is a little bit, there we go. Let's bring this up a little bit. So in this case, you have 3 columns. The template does first name, last name, email. I've already populated this list with all of these names. And you can do the same. Just download the blank template first, fill in the first name, last name columns along with the email addresses that are associated with those names. And then with that in place, you can then import that CSV file by clicking the import from CSV, and then go to where it is, that CSV file I just displayed on your computer, click open, and that would then in bulk populate your user's display just as we have it here. All right, so the other options that are available, there's a set of action buttons here at the bottom. So if we were going to scroll to the top and we wanted to invite Dave Abbott to be a user on the website, we see that his role is currently a none here. We would check mark his name, click change role, and then you're starting here from not having any access at all. You're not able to log into Church360 Unite. So that's kind of the lowest step. The next step up from there is a user. And so this would be the bulk of your membership there at church. And that's what we would do with Dave here. We would click update, and it would then send Dave an invite to set up his login to Church360 Unite, the website. Now, 3 other roles that are available here are more just for administrators or positions slightly under that administrator setting. There's the publisher. The publisher can edit content on the web pages. And then a step up from there is designer, where the designer may edit content and change the theme for the church website. And then the top dog in this case is the administrator, who can manage themes and settings and everything on the web page. So you would want to use these 3 options, publisher, designer, administrator, sparingly and give that to those people who you trust, and then most all of your church would just be users. So we would just then click update, and then Dave Abbott would be invited to log in to Church360 Unite as a user. You could do that with any number of names that you check off here for inviting them. And what that invite will look like when they get that is, let me drag this picture over. So this is the just an example of the email that they'll get. It would be from your church. It would greet them. It would say that you've been invited to set up the account for the website of your church, and all they'd have to do is click on that button, and they would provide then their own password, and then they would get access to Church360 Unite's the website for your church. Now, the other action buttons that are available here at the bottom, we see list and unlist. So right now, Dave Abbott, if he is listed in the member directory here on the website, if we would want to unlist him, we would check his name and click the unlist button. And then we'll see that there's now an X in the listed column showing that he has opted out, or maybe the church office has decided to unlist him from the member directory. In this case, let me go ahead and put Dave back and list him in the member directory. And then another option here, if there's someone who's moved away from the church, you can click the delete button, And then the delete button in this case would delete the person here from Church360 Unite from your website. And if you happen to have Church360 members as well, and that person is in the database and members, it would archive them in Church360 members. So for those users who have that product as well, it's going, in this case, it would archive Sally and Kira if I went ahead to delete them here in Church360 Unite. We may talk about text later on. We'll have to see if time permits for that. All right, and let's see. Once a person has accepted accepted their invitation and created their user account, and let's use the one here for Jordan, that kind of locks in that email address then for Jordan, because it's used as part of his user ID here. So if at any point in time Jordan's email provider would change, the only way that this email then would be able to be edited or changed would be for Jordan to sign in to his account and change it under his user settings. So I wanted to point that out. I am signed in currently as Jordan. So in this particular website, we would go to the home page, click on the little silhouette of a figure. There are user settings here. Each of your church members would have a user setting, and going to user settings is where then the email address for Jordan appears. And so if Jordan would change to a Gmail email provider, he could change that here for his own account. So that's not once a user is established in Unite, it will be up to them to change their sign-in email at that point in time. Other than that, you know, if you still haven't invited them, you can still edit the email here just by, let's see, well, the email address that it's pulling from in this case is maybe from Church360 members, or it might be from Shepherd staff. So it's showing the personal email address. You can always change it in one of those two products, or as we did earlier by adding John Doe. John Doe is listed here. We could just delete John Doe and re-add them here if you just have Church360 Unite as a standalone product. And so those are all possibilities. All right, let's see. So let's talk about, once we have users here, they will appear on the members directory page if you have them listed. So right now, this is the members directory. You'll notice that it does have that red members only. So this would only be available to signed in users who from your church who have a user account. And you can search, once again, we can search on Burke, and I find my name, my member directory listing. I could click on my name here. It brings up my account. I can edit my profile here by clicking edit, and it would allow me to change any of my name information, add a title, add a suffix. I can change my personal email address or home or work from here. I can choose, as a church member, I can choose whether I want that listed or not in that directory. And the same way with phone numbers, work and cell, I can choose whether or not to list that as well, and then click update my profile. You can also remove any email address or phone number with the little circle and the minus, the red delete little symbol here. You can always add another email address or phone number as well by clicking those. So your members can update the information here, and this will also update their Church360 members' contact information, as well as it can sync with Shepherd staff and update it there as well. So you could have your church members kind of help you keep their information up to date using Church360 Unite. And they also are able to upload an image here, you can click on the image placeholder, and then you are given some choices here of using, if you have a Gravatar established already, you could use that for your portrait picture. You could use just the default, which is this silhouette image here, or you could upload a portrait picture of yourself. You could just click on choose file, and let's see if I've got anything here off the top of my head. Yeah, here we go. Here's my picture. So I can upload that and use that as well. Let's update the profile. And so now my picture is listed there. And I did that as a church member. So church members do have some access to their profile, and they could upload pictures as well. But you may also want to just kind of control that from, it will use like Church360 members picture if that's been uploaded to that product, and it will display it here, I think, with the default option. But I did want to just let you know that this option is available. This will also show group information, what groups that a person is active in, or any recent activity that they had. So let's go back one page here to the member directory. Okay, here we are back at pages. All right. We were right here, members. So those options are available. Users can edit their own profiles and also list and unlist themselves from the member directory. And as well as, you as a administrator there in the church office can also manage that list and unlist here in that final column, along with these two buttons here at the bottom. Now let's talk about mailing lists. So you want to engage with your congregation. You come here to users on the navigation bar at the top. You click on mailing lists on the side, and we've got some options here for a couple mailing lists already created. There's one here that's required by Church360 United, has a padlock, and that is everyone, and that's saying all users. Now it's not going to, if we go back to users here, our users are going to be those that have set up and completed a login account. Not all of these that have a none status, those are not users. Those are just people in your database, but once they become a user or higher, if they're a publisher, designer, administrator, they are considered to be part of the everyone group. And then we've got some other mailing lists here, greeters, elders, a Bible study, and that's actually the one that I wanted to create. So let's go ahead and delete this one at the moment and show it from creation. So if you wanted to create a mailing list, you could just type in Bible study and click on the button to create. It shows up here in the lower part of the list. We can click on any part of the row here, and that then gives us the Bible study label in case you want to edit that. And then it gives us a field here to select the recipients of the Bible study. So when I click in there, I've got a number of users on this website, and it happens to be all of our technicians, and they are represented by a little silhouette here. We also have a group page on this website, so you can add the members of a group to a mailing list as well. And then we've also already got some other mailing lists here. You can see elders is listed here, so it's showing here. So you could include some of the other mailing lists in this mailing list as well. So we might want to this Bible study, we might want to invite the elders. We might want to invite Jordan and Kimberly, and our manager Rod. He better be there at that Bible study, especially if he's listening today, and Sam. And so you can add in any number of recipients there, save that, and then that Bible study email mailing list will have been successfully saved. We can dismiss that message. And there it is. We could then use that. We can click the button there or click the checkbox, and then the action button at the bottom says email, and it would then open our email client where we could then send that out. I'm going to cancel that process at the moment. But that is then how you create a mailing list. Now, in regards to emails, I did want to mention that anything you send out from Church360 members will go out with a blind carbon copy type of send to information, which means that any member out there in your church, John Doe, if he receives an email, it will look like it just came to him. It will not have the email addresses of the other members in your church. And so that will keep those other emails secure, and that particular church member won't see it. It will say something like coming from undisclosed recipients or something to that effect, or it will just have their name, John Doe, on it as the send to, coming from our relay system. So I did want to note that in case you were wondering about how emails appear on the opposite end, on the receiving end of things. All right, let's go ahead on to calendars. We need to keep moving along here. We're going to go to settings and talk about calendars. So under settings, there is an option here on the left navigation called calendars. We see at the moment that this is our calendar collection. Those with a padlock are reserved for syncing with Church360 members. Anything underneath that would be something that has been custom created, or in this case, this icon does designate that this is a group page, which we'll talk about in a little bit, the church council. And so every group page that's created also has a calendar of its own. Now over here on the right side, you'll see the visibility. So right now, this particular Church360 Unite website is not linked to a Church360 members account. And so right now, none of these are really active. And so the visibility is for no one. This church board would be visible to users. And so those are the people that have created a login to your website, members of your church. And then this lower one is disabled. You control that visibility from the group page itself. But let's click on this church board one at the moment, and we'll see the name of this calendar here, as well as the selections for visibility. And so you'll be able to make this calendar visible to no one, just like these other calendars listed here, or maybe just to the signed in users of your congregation. So they get that special privilege of seeing this particular calendar, or it might be open to everyone, which means the general public, they would be able to see whatever's on this church board calendar if that was the case. We'll keep it to users. Let's go ahead and create another calendar. And let's call this one the gymnasium. Let's say we have a gymnasium at our church and we want a calendar just for the gymnasium to make sure that any events that are happening in the church gymnasium are scheduled and put on the calendar. So in this case, we'll click on the row, and let's say that this too will be available. Maybe let's just go with everyone at the moment and click save. So now this calendar has been added to our collection, and we'll show that here in a minute when we get back to our menuing system. But I did want to show what's also down here at the bottom. This is the ability to include events from your Google Calendar. You can put a check mark in the box, and it will open up some windows here where you can sign in to your Google account and bring those calendar in as well into Church360 Unite. So that is an option that is available as well. So let's go ahead, click out of the settings now that we have a new calendar created. And we've learned about how to maintain the other calendars in our collection. And we'll go to the news tab, in this case, where our calendar appears. And then we'll see the calendar for October. And we've got a monthly view here. We've got a weekly view, weekly agenda view as well. We can navigate through the calendars by going back into history, going to September, or going forward into history, going forward into the future and look at January, what's coming up in January 2023. Or we can just go back to the current month by clicking on the Today button. That will bring us back to October, where our current date will be that little lightly shaded yellow date. The calendars that you can view here would be those that are available to users. So in this case, the church board was part of our collection, and that was available to be seen. The church council is available to be seen by people in the church council group. And just so happens that the user I'm using is part of that group, and so that option is showing here. Otherwise, if the signed in person, the signed in user was not a part of that group, this option would not show. And then here's our gymnasium. So let's go ahead and remove the check marks, and I just want just the gymnasium calendar on here. So let's say that I want to create an event here on the calendar. We click on the link here in the upper right corner, new event. Let's say that this is a youth group gym night. And we want to add it to the gymnasium calendar. The location is kind of obvious, it's the gymnasium, but certainly if you're creating an event that is in a particular room in your church or your building there, room 101, 201, if it's in the church basement, you might want to designate that location, but it's not a requirement. And then let's say that this event, it will start, let's go with the first Friday of every month, beginning at, let's see, 7 o'clock. And the same event ends the same night at 9 o'clock. And you can just tab to these different sections of the time. So here's the hour, tab over to the minutes, and then tab over to the time signature. You can just type a letter A to make it AM, I believe. Let's see, but in this case, since I have it starting at PM, let's go ahead and make this 9 again. And this is not an all-day event. If it was an all-day event, it then removes the time cells here. But in this case, we're going to say this repeats every single month. And we're going to say it repeats every single month on the first Friday. So we got those options. You can see the repeating schedule has in the first cell single, other, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. And the second cell, it says week, month, and year. So this could read every single week, every other week, every third week, fourth week, or every single month, every other month, third month, fourth month, even every single year, every other year, etc. And if you pick a day here, then you'll have the 31 days that are there potentially in every month of the year that you could select from. But since we're wanting to do this on a particular day of the week, we're choosing the first Friday. We could also do, you know, every the second Friday of the month or the third Friday of the month. In fact, if this was a repeating schedule, we might want to say that it also happens on the third Friday as well. And so the youth group has the gym or a gym night every first and third Friday of all 12 months out of the year. We could also have this schedule start on a given day. In this case, I did want it to start on the 7th. And if we don't have an end to it, we would just leave that blank. But if it does end, maybe it would just be during the school year. So we would plot this out for some time in May, ending the last Friday in May. We could put something here in the description if we'd like. It's not required, but something about the event. If it's an event that you're needing so many tables or chairs, you might put that in there as well. Then it comes down to a point of invitations. And so if you want to invite people to this event, if you would want to invite the youth to this event, you could put a check mark there and then choose the members of that take part in the youth group, check off their names from this list. And the names that you will see in this case are going to be all of those names that appear in the user drop down here. Let's go back here. All of these emails would be potential people you can invite, even if they don't have a user account yet. If they have no role on the website, you could still invite them to an event on the calendar. And so that is, I wanted to bring that out. This is open to all people, whether they are a user or not. You could select all, select none. And then you can also choose if a reminder would go out. So you could have a reminder go out 2 hours before the event, also a day before the event, and a week before. So in this case, we could invite the youth group to their gym night a week before. They'd also get a reminder the day before and also 2 hours before. But think of that even outside of the box of a youth group gym night. If you've got an event, a special speaker coming in, talk about missions in Africa, you could have those reminders go out to your church a week before, a day before, and whatever hours before the event. And then we could click create that event. Let me go ahead and unselect these so at the moment. Just select me out of at the moment here. Create the event. And so here we have the youth group gym night. We can still edit this event. There is a place for recent comments because people can comment here on the event, and the participants at the moment is just myself. So if we go back to our calendar, we should see this alternating schedule of the first and third Fridays having the youth group on that particular gymnasium calendar. All right, you can also just add a one-time event if the gym was being used for a basketball game on next week Wednesday. You could just click new event, choose next week Wednesday, the time, basketball connected with the gymnasium calendar. And you might not even have any invitations or reminders, just create the event and that would appear on that calendar as well. All right, let's keep on moving. Let's talk about feeds and posts here. All right, so if we go to pages, we've got, it may have been covered a little bit yesterday. When you create a page that appears in your active menu items, it will get a icon that looks like this, the one that I'm hovering over here for pastor's blog and sermons. That is a feeds page. So if we click on the button here at the top to add a page, and we'd want this to be a feeds page, we would click on this particular image. Shows that we've selected feeds page. We'd click create. We could call this Bible study. And click away from that at the moment, and you'll see that it's a members only page. You could make this public. That was kind of covered yesterday. But we'll go ahead and just keep this at the moment as a members only. Let's go to this Bible study page by clicking on the link. There we go. So now we have a feeds page labeled Bible study. So if you wanted to add a post to this feeds page, we could go ahead and click the edit page tab here on the side, and we'd have a new post. And let's say that we were doing a Bible study, since we're here in October, maybe this Bible study is on the Reformation. So we create that title. I click in the main portion of the box here for text, and let me go get some text here. My typing is bad, so we're just going to use some content here. And this is some information on Reformation that we're going to use in our Bible study. And so that was added right here in the cell. We have all of the toolbar options that you saw yesterday in the session. And right now, you can either create this post here on this feeds page in draft mode, or schedule it to post at a certain day and time, or just publish it right off here. Let's go ahead and say we're going to schedule it so I can show that as well. So at the moment, it is scheduled for the 19th of October today. And I mean, we could say that we'll do that at 10:45 here Central Time. And I'll go ahead and create that, that post. So now you can see that the post is shown here. It's due to be posted in just several minutes. Again, I'm signed in as Jordan at the moment, so we're seeing Jordan's name. On the left side of the screen for this particular page, Bible study page, we see the name, which is part of the URL here, and that's what we see at the top of the screen in the internet browser as part of the URL. The feed title is just the title that's here on top of the page, so if you ever wanted to change that, you could. And any meta description that is just used in conjunction with search engines. We do have an option here with how many posts you want to appear on a page, in this case 7. We can choose to show the post content, so that will be what I've written here for Reformation. We can allow people to comment on it, which will open up the comments option. And in that case, if you're going to allow comments, you probably want to moderate comments so that you don't, you don't have just messages that are put out there, with bad comments just by default. You want to moderate those and remove those kind of comments that that you don't want to appear. Let's go ahead and click Save Draft at the moment. All right, and then we close the edit page. So what we can do now that it is showing here, we can go up to posts, and we will see a list of options or a list of posts that have been made already. We've got one on the sermons page, one on the pastor's blog page, but here's this one that I just created right now for Reformation. It's on the Bible study feeds page. It's currently scheduled to post at 10:45 today. If you notice right now in the lower right corner, I'm at 10:44. If we refresh the screen, you can still see it's showing as scheduled. What I'd like to do is show you here in a minute what it will look like at 10:45. But in the meantime, I can also tell you about these action buttons at the bottom. So if you just wanted to publish one of these that is scheduled or in draft mode, you can check the box and then click publish, and that will just force the publish at that point in time. Anything that is published, like this recognition option, I could choose to make draft, and let me go ahead and click it. It's probably going to update here now that it's 10:45. So keep watching this scheduled status here. I'll go ahead and click make draft. Okay, that just made the one article now a draft article. With a check mark here, I can also delete a post, or I can also change it from the feed it's on. So this one that's on the sermons page, I could change the feed and put it on the Bible study or pastor's blog page if I wanted to instead. All right, let's go ahead. Now that it's 10:45, I want to refresh the browser page, and this schedule should disappear and then be published. So we'll refresh, and now you see that that article has been posted to the Bible study page. If we were to X out of here, and right now, though, here in pages, I don't have that as part of my active menu options, so I'm just going to click on the link. And this really hasn't changed at all, but it would be posted and made public at that point in time. You can see that comments can be made. Somebody in the public can go ahead and leave a comment. I like this. And post that. And then you might, your comment has been submitted. And let's say this is a bad comment, and post that. So that comment should have been posted, or should have been submitted as well. So let's go ahead and talk then about those comments. We would go to activity tab, and then go to the comments section here on the left side. And we would see those two comments. So we could then check this one, who was commented by Jordan, and he likes the article, so we can go ahead and approve that one. But let's say that this is a bad comment, or maybe just someone was trying to be ignorant and left some bad language on a comment. Well, in this way, you're moderating those comments, and you can say, I want to delete this one. This one should not go up on the website. So we're going to go ahead and delete that comment before it even appears. And so now that that has been approved, the one comment, let's go ahead and we should be able to refresh our screen here on the Reformation Bible study page. And now that comment that we approved is on here. I like this article. So that's how feed pages, posts work, and how you can change those from draft to made public or posted, and how you can also comment and moderate comments. All right, let's go on to the next section, groups. Let's talk about group pages. So if we go to pages, we've got a, let's see here, a groups page is shown with this icon. So a group page is just a gathering of people together for maybe a specific purpose there at the church. Some ideas of group pages would be like maybe the altar guild, maybe the board of elders would have their own group page, maybe the choir, the music director would want a group page just for the singers and the instrumentalists, and a way of bringing them together in just an area of the website where you can share music or audio files of how the song should sound, etc. Or maybe it's a men's club or a men's ministry, maybe the women's ministry, or maybe the youth group. These would all be ideas for groups. And in these group pages that we're about to create, it is a kind of like a micro website within your whole global church website here. And you are able to make this group's micro website available to anyone, or you can also make it strictly by invitation. So in the case of like a choir, you could invite just the choir members and instrumentalists to this group, and they would be the only ones that have access then to that group and would see the communication or the resources that are put on the groups page. So let's start with that kind of idea. Let's just click on add a page. And this is the page for group. We click on that, we see group. We're going to add that page, and let's call it maybe music department. And we'll go ahead and click away. And you'll see that little icon, kind of a circle with an image of a person inside the circle. And let's go ahead to this groups page. By clicking on the link, you'll notice that it is a members only at the moment. So we've arrived here on what is called a groups page. This is, in a sense, the home page of this group. It shows the title here. We've got the edit page, as we talked about yesterday, where you can change the status from draft to published, the URL, the word, where you can change that, the page title, In this case, I'm not sure why it's showing home at the moment, but let's continue on. And then the meta description that is used in conjunction with search engines. And so there's those edit page options, just the way you added content in yesterday's session, clicking in a cell. We can probably still type what I had on my clipboard here. And then we have let's save the draft. And we've got some content on the page of our music department. But these group pages, then the navigation for these group pages is here on the right. So right now we're on the main page of the music department. And there are a number of options here. As an administrator, I'm seeing everything currently because I'm setting up this page. But once we get down here to editing the group, we'll be able to kind of set the permissions of who sees what in this navigation. So we're on the main page of the music department. There's a discussions page here where if you click on it, then you've got the ability to post discussions within the group. It can be a post for just discussion. What do you think about, I'm not the best typist, I apologize, about this song, or about a certain song. And so we put that out for discussion, we post it, and as a member of this group, then that gets posted here. Now, other members of the group, let's say John Doe, if he's a part of this group, he might reply and say, let's do it. And post that in a reply to your discussion. And obviously it would say a different person commented on it, but in this way, the members of your group can have discussions just amongst themselves in this group music department page. You can also put post a prayer request. So pray for Deb, with whatever sickness or something that she might be going through. And so that post comes out then with a purple prayer request type of tag. And then the last one, an announcement, rehearsal has been canceled. Let's go ahead and post that to the music department page, and then that comes out with a tag for in red. And so you're able to post different types of communication and have them tagged appropriately, and even the members in the group can reply to these comments in the discussions page. The next page down in our groups page is events. And so this is where the music department group has its own music department calendar. And the same options are available here as we saw a moment ago in the global calendar. We can navigate through the months here in the upper left, choose between month and week. And in this case, the link for a new event is here in the lower left corner with all of those same options here that we had earlier for new events. Besides, oh, and then also now that you see the side here, navigation does show the last 3 comments in this discussions page right here in the vertical menu. So that's kind of a neat little feature showing you some of the recent comments. We talked about events. You can just go directly to create a new event here with that link. This is an option showing the members. And so this is where you can invite members to this page. So let's say out of my users, the people who have been invited to the website, maybe Taylor is one of the musicians. So I could then click add her as a member, and she appears then up here. And again, I'm signed in as Jordan. And since I created this group page, I'm the group leader at the moment. We can invite Rod, who's watching, and oh, he's probably an excellent soloist. And I can imagine him smiling right now. And we can also invite Sam or add him as a member. And then here is another option. You can invite other members to this group if you'd like. And there is also a spot here for requests. So if you open this up to users, this groups page to users, the people in your church membership who have a user ID here on the website, you could open it up to where people can request to be a part of a group. So it doesn't only have to be by invitation only, it can be by request as well. But that's how you add members or invite members. They are now part of the group. Let's say maybe at some point in time, Jordan isn't going to be a part of the music department anymore, and he needs another group leader. So Taylor is going to take his spot. So we put a check mark in front of Taylor, and we say change Taylor's role. Promote her to be a leader or demote to be a member. So let's promote Taylor to be a leader, and then now that has made Taylor a group leader on this groups page. And the significance of that is a group leader is able to make changes to it's in a way like just being the administrator on this groups page only. Having a group leader, the group leader doesn't have administrative privileges to the church website as a whole, only to this particular group micro group page that we have here. So that's a significance there. Once you have members, you could put check marks in front of their names, email the selected, or just email all, and then you could send out an email to the whole group. Let's go on to edit this group, talk about that. We've got just a few minutes late. I'm running just a little bit behind, so I apologize for that. Here on the edit this group option here, what you have is the title of the page. You can add a description of what this group is about. You've got pages here, and you're able to, as it says here in small print right across there, you can add up to 3 pages to your navigation here on the right. You can list more pages than that here within the groups page, but only 3 can be added to the navigation. So let's say we had audio files. We have also a music page. This would be, let's say, sheet music for the music department. And maybe we also have a, I don't know, photos page of things that we've done in the group lately. And you could add more pages, but as it says here, that you can only check up to 3 additional pages. That's the maximum. And you can see as I check those, they were added then to the navigation bar here on the right side. Now we have photos, sheet music, and audio files. And then as we scroll down a little bit farther, let me actually update the group here with those additional pages. I'll have to go back here. You can see it now appearing on the navigation. I'll have to go back to edit this group, because where we're going now underneath these pages is the visibility. And I needed to have the audio file, photos, and sheet music pages added to this listing. So I can then, as an administrator or as a group leader here, decide that the home music department page could be seen, let's say, by people in the congregation if they've signed in. Not the general public, but people in the church. But our discussion page is really open up just to the music department group members. And the events to the group members. The audio files would only be available to the group members, as well as photos, sheet music. And then let's say the members of the group aren't necessarily needed for everyone to see, so that might be only available to group leaders to see the members that are in their group. Now the discussions and events pages, you could just hide those by selecting no one, and they would be hidden if you don't need a discussions page in your group or an events calendar in your group. Those can just be hidden. But this would be setting up the permissions to this groups page. This is where you decide who can join the group, either anyone who is logged into the site, meaning, again, your church members, or only people that you invite. So if it's a restricted group, obviously the music department would be only those with talents in music, so you'd probably do it on invitation only. And then you could update this group. Obviously you saw the button there at the bottom too as well that had delete. Let me just delete the group too if you don't need a group page anymore. And so that's where you set up the permissions, and then this groups page would have this additional navigation here on the right. If we click on audio file, it takes us to the audio file page. Let's click on that one more time here, where we could then, type in audio files, save that, save the draft. And so now moving in and out, photos, we need to add content on the photos page. Let me close the edit page drawer. If we go back to audio files, you can tell we're on that because here's the title that I added to audio files. The last option here is membership settings. And what that displays here here it's at the top. The membership settings, so notifications. Send me an email when a member of my group posts a comment, or send me an email only when the group leader makes an announcement, or I just don't want to have any email notifications from this group at all. So each member of the group will have this option at the bottom. They will be able to choose the type of notification that they want. If they just don't want to be bothered by group notifications anymore, they take that second or that third selection. Other than that, if they want to see everything, what's going on in the group, stay connected, they would want that top option and update their group membership. Then there is the option that even if you invite someone to a group, they can always leave the group as well. It's their prerogative. So that's group pages. We're right here at a little after the top of the hour. Let's see, one other thing possibly that I wanted to bring up about group pages. All right, no, that's all right. Let's go ahead. That's pretty much the content of the webinar today. Let's go ahead and move on to our quiz section. So let me get that set up here. All right, so the quiz. I've got 5 questions here that we'll just run through, and certainly, the hour is up. If you have to leave, that's fine. You can go ahead and cut out of here, out of the webinar. And I do appreciate your time that you spent with us today. But this section of quiz and Q&A will remain on the line for a little bit longer. And that way, those who want to be a part of it can still remain connected. So here our quiz. Our first question is, and let me get myself set up here. All right, when creating an event, you can only invite users who have set up their logins for Church360 to that event. Go ahead and put that poll out there. You just click on true or false on your side of the screen there, and go ahead and just go with your gut. These answers aren't recorded and matched up with the user who, or the viewer who, what made the selection. Just go with your gut. What do you think? When creating an event, you can only invite users who have set up their logins for Church360. All right, anyone else? Last couple seconds here. All right, let's go ahead and close the poll. So 60% of you answered false, 40% answered true. And so the answer to that is false. The 60% of you were correct. Really, any person who has an email address listed on the user screen can be invited to an event that you create. This will let you reach out to as many people who have may have not set up their Church360 login yet. And that way you can get as many people in your church still invited to events, even though they may not have a user profile in a way on the website. All right, let's go on then to the next one. Next question, again, all of these are true or false. Changing a personal email address in 360 members or Shepherd staff will always change it on the user's screen in Church360 Unite. I know some of these are a little bit specific to wording, and so don't feel bad if you get it wrong. That's certainly all right, but changing a personal email in Church360 members or Shepherd staff will always change it on the user screen in 360 Unite. All right, looks like we got most people having responded. And in this one, it's just the reverse, 60% true, 40% false. Let's go ahead and show the answer here. So it is false in this case. Once a user has established their login, so this is the key here, if they've got an established login, the only way that they can change the email on the user screen is by logging into their account and updating their login email on their personal profile. That's where I showed going to the user settings, and then if a person's email address or email provider changed, they can change it under their user settings. So this was a little bit specific, but I'm glad several of you, a number of you did catch that. And so very good. Let's go ahead then to the next question. Let's see here. Sorry, you saw the answer to that. Possibly if you were paying attention. True or false? A user can list or unlist themselves from the online directory without an administrator making any change. Let's go ahead and launch that. So go ahead and make your selection there. A user can list or unlist themselves from the online directory without an administrator making any changes. All right, let's go ahead and close the poll. It's an 80-20 split, 80% true, 20% false. The answer is true. If a user has a login to Church360 Unite, they can go to their own profile in the member directory and list or unlist themselves from that directory, either in the unlist or list themselves, and also list or unlist their phone number and email addresses there too. So those are all options. All right, next question. When sending out mass emails from Church360 Unite, the person who receives the email will only see that it came to them. Go ahead and make your selection there. When sending out a mass email from Church360 Unite, the person who is on the receiving end will only see that it came to them. It will look specific, like it came to them only. All right, let's go ahead and close. 100% of you said true in this case. So the answer is true. You are correct. Mass emails sent from Church360 Unite use a blind carbon copy type of feature, which means that the recipients of the email will only see that the message came to them and not any other email addresses. And then the last question, I believe, is this one. Each page's visibility within a group page can be adjusted. So either everyone, users, group members, or group leaders can see that page. Make your selections there, true or false. Each Group page visibility can be adjusted so either everyone, users, group members, or group leaders can see the page. All right, that's one of the last things we went over. So everyone did well there. 100% of you chose true, and the answer is true. Every page within a group can have its visibility adjusted to control who can see a page. You can make a page visible to anyone who would visit your site, all the way up to even being able to make it so no one can see it, where the page then is hidden. All right, very good. Thank you for participating in the quiz. Now is that time where we have opened it up to any questions. Since we're a little bit over time here, I'm going to look at some of the questions that Rod didn't get to during the session here, and we'll see if it would be appropriate to share. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and show the last slide as well here. I do want to thank you for attending today's Unite webinar, and we hope you enjoyed today's session. These are being recorded, so you'll be able to access them from our resource center at a later date. But while you're possibly hanging on yet a little bit longer, let me look through some of the questions here. Looks like Rod got most of them, so each of you who have asked a question did get answered. Let's see, where did I see that one? All right, so I'll look at this one that came in here just more recently since Rod hasn't gotten to it yet, but it's James asks user email updates. So if a user's email is updated in Shepherd Staff, it isn't pushed to Church360, and a user can update it on Church360 and it is pushed up to Shepherd Staff. So yeah, in Shepherd Staff, James, there is an option where you can sync information to and from Church360 Unite. So it is possible that those email addresses will get pushed, one way or the other or both. You can have someone update their information on the website, and then when Shepherd Staff is next synced with Church360 Unite, and you choose to take in any changes from Church360 Unite, it would go ahead and upload it. Now, the only exception to that would be if they have used their email as their sign-in ID. In that case, it goes back to what I showed you earlier, where that particular user, if they wanted to change their email address, they'd have to sign in to Church360 Unite with their old email address and then go to their user settings to update that user ID email sign-in that they're using. But outside of that, yeah, email addresses will be updated. Let's see if there's anything else at the moment. I hope that answered your question, by the way, James. Yeah, you're welcome. All right, since we're here at an hour and 15 minutes into it, I'm going to go ahead and we'll just close the webinar. All of you who asked questions throughout did get your answers, and the majority of the content today is what people were interested in and can view it at a later date. So once again, thank you for your time today, and I hope you have good weather where you're at and enjoy the rest of your day and your week.